I flew with my business partner, Daniel, to North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. At that meeting, I heard their story. And then, when it was all over, and as impressed as I was with them, I was really desiring very much to be with this company. And then the tables would turn around, and they looked at me and he says, "Peter, tell us a little bit about yourself." And I came there prepared with my press kit and samples of products, and I'm showing all the different amounts of press we've had through the years from all the major magazines, newspapers, internet articles, everything that we've accumulated, just to show them that we keep up with publicity, social media, and getting the word out there and promoting ourselves. And he says, "No, that's quite interesting, but what's your story?" And I said, "My story?" He says, "Yeah, we want to know your story. We just told you our story. We want to hear your story." And I took a moment, deep breath, and I began to tell them my story about this young man that was born and raised in one of the most beautiful tropical islands, paradise that you could ever imagine, Havana, Cuba. There you are. I know who you are. I agree. And had an amazing, what I call fairy tale life, living in this paradise, which was truly a special place for me. Unfortunately, it came to an end, and due to political reasons, my parents, I'm an only child, decided that I had no future there, and Mom basically said, "We're leaving." And when you left Cuba at the time, you gave to the government everything that you owned. You signed over to them your house, your car, your savings account, your belongings, your jewelry, your memento photograph, everything. We left, as you have heard before. So in some cases, some of you have known already that we left with the clothes in our bags. That's all you were allowed to take with you. And we flew in one of the last flights that left Cuba to the U.S. states. Instead of going, and we had many choices, my parents had a number of choices to go to as a refugee, was either Miami, Florida, Los Angeles, or New York. Thank you for making the decision of going to New York, because that decision wasn't made by them, I wouldn't be standing here tonight. Thank you. All my life, growing up, I was very interested in art. I wanted to become an art major in going, and if I had the chance of going to college, which I never got to really participate with. And at that time, I wanted to become a commercial artist, but here we are in the most incredible city in the world. My mom picked that city because of the cultural background, the art background, the sophisticated background that city brought to everyone who was very creative. And I am one of those people that she felt deserved to be there if I was to grow and expand into the art industry, as she says, the art world. And I enrolled in one of the most reputable art academies in New York City, Art Students League Academy of Art. But I had to go at night because I had to work in the daytime to earn money to be able to afford to go to school. And someone told me I don't know, I don't believe in coincidence, but somebody said, "You know, you're so creative with your hands. Why don't you think about becoming a hairstylist? They make a lot of money, and it certainly enables you to earn enough money to pay for schooling, take care of yourself, help your parents, and it's better than anything else, and it's something that I feel you could be very good at." I still, to this day, God bless that person who made me aware of this. And I did so. I said, why not? And at that time, to get training, good, proper training in the field of beauty, it was very challenging. There was only a few top salons in New York City, very high-end, very prestigious, but very challenging and difficult to get into. And here's this kid, young man, I should say, who spoke barely any amount of English. I didn't own a suit that I can think of, but borrowed money, got a suit, showed up at one of the most famous salons that had just opened in New York City. This genius of a master of a hairstylist came from London, England, to New York and opened up his first salon, the Vidal Sassoon Salon in New York City. I walked in, and I did something that I've spoken about to my kids, because I walked into that salon after listening to a number of people telling me, oh, they'll never hire you. You barely speak the language. You don't have a good presence. They're demanding. They want experience. In order for you to be able to be trained, they want to know that you have a little bit of a background, and you don't. And I chose not to listen to the negativity from people that were sharing this with me. And I've been that way all of my life. I walked in, but this is the best part. The manager came up to me, as he does with everybody that wants to apply, and there's so many people that want to go there, and not everybody is taken. It was such a privilege, if you chose to be taken, to be in that environment, because Vidal Sassoon was just not bringing you the training of a hairstylist. He was bringing a new technique with science. It was, this was a revolution that just was happening, coming from London, England, with this new approach to creating, sculpturing, and styling hair. And as I said, I am an artist. I do painting, sketching, and sculpturing. So I know that these hands are able to really understand the creativity and the understanding of what it takes to learn this technique and apply it to your own talent. I walked in and I said to the manager, I'm not looking for a job, in my broken English. I'm not here looking for a job, but I am here looking for the opportunity to grow my artistic talent, my gift that I was born with, to be able to make you, as the salon owner, Vidal Sassoon, proud of me, and knowing that I have done everything possible to take the privilege and grab everything that you have taught me and make it into an incredible success, being here in this salon as a stylist, and you will be very proud of me. The man stopped and he says, do you have a minute? I said, I have all the time in the world. He takes me by the hand. I don't know yet if he likes me, he doesn't like me, what's going on. And he says, let me show you the salon. And so here I am having a tour of this, a magnificent salon that is about 2 years old. And he's introducing me to these incredible geniuses of stylists that are working there, that later on I really realized how great they were. And the first one that he introduced me to was the style director, who is doing the training for the assistants that I would be. You become an assistant helping these incredible stylists for a year and a half, 2 years. Eventually, you go into the Vidal Sassoon room if you are good enough, and within a 2-year length of time, you will be then allowed to go onto the floor and become a full-fledged stylist like everybody else. A 2-year training. And he introduces me to the style director. At that time, I had no clue who he was, but it turned out to be Paul Mitchell, that everybody knows as the Paul Mitchell product. He started with Vidal Sassoon. And this became a friendship that lasted for many years, unbeknownst to me at that time. And eventually, he takes me to Vidal Sassoon's room and introduced me to Vidal. And he says, Vidal, I want you to meet our new assistant, Peter Lamas. I had no idea whatsoever I was hired. But as we left, I said, I still remember his name, Michael. Did I hear right? I'm in? He says, oh, yes, you're in. I have never had anyone come in and tell me they're not looking for a job, but they're just looking for the great opportunity to become somebody. And you impressed me so much with that statement, I had to hire you. I knew right there and then there was no way about it. You were hired. It's what I share with my children and with everybody. If I would have listened to these no-sayers telling me you'll never do it, you can't barely speak the language, you don't look well, you don't have the right appearance, there's no room for me for negativity. My bar has always been in my life very high. I have no room for mediocrity. So I always have such a high standard, and it has never, ever failed me. Self-confidence, trust, and believe in yourself. It is the most important thing you all own. And in doing so, in this business, as I said, ACN, as I was told, is for everyone, but not everyone is for ACN. You choose the people that really have the ambition and the commitment to be taking the opportunity and running with it, participating in this great company. Very important to understand don't waste your time with people that become questionable, naysayers. I don't have the time when I meet those people. In fact, they won't come into my life. They can't. I believe in the law of attraction. And if I'm vibrating up here and they're vibrating down here, we ain't going to meet. Guaranteed. I only meet winners. I seldom run into losers because I have nothing in common with them. To make a long story short, because I want to get to the part of Illuminate. Now, here I am, 2 years later in this amazing salon, working with these amazing gifted individuals, seeing the most famous people to me that I read about and watch on television and in movies coming in to have their hair done, to have their face done. They did everything. It was full service salon. And one of the very, very first clients that was given to me, I was kind of nervous at the time because it was my second day becoming an official stylist in Vidal Sassoon, and it was Oscar de la Renta, the famous fashion designer who became enormous in the fashion industry, Oscar de la Renta. He and I, because Oscar was born and it comes from Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, an island right next to Cuba. I'm surrounded by beautiful islands, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. I mean, we are just so fortunate to be living in such a great paradise. And he and I really blended together nicely. We became eventually very good friends, but at the beginning, he loved my work. He saw me working as I was working with him and finishing with him, I would do something else, or he will be waiting for me, watching me do a woman's hair and designing not only the cutting, but the styling and the way I created the magic, I call it, that happens when you're behind that chair working on a live person, trying to do your very best to make them feel good and look good. And he says to me, Peter, I've been watching your work. This happened several months into our relationship, professional relationship. He says, I've been watching your work. Would you be interested in working in my fashion shows? I said, oh my God, yes, what an honor. He says, I have a team that you're going to be a member of. Remember, my bar is always up here. I only want the very best, and I want to attract the very best in my life. And here's this great fashion designer telling me, I want you to be part of the team that I have in doing the collections and in doing studio shoots for Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and Cosmopolitan and Marie Claire and all these major fashion magazines. And I went, thank you, yes, you have my full cooperation. We started doing this, and eventually he says, I'm going to, now that about a year passed working together, and he says, you're ready to be taken to Vogue magazine. I said, I want you to introduce you to the head fashion editor of Vogue magazine, Diana Vreeland. If you watch The Devil Wears Prada, that was based on her life. And Meryl Streep played that role. And here I walked into Vogue magazine. He grabbed me by the arm, taking me in to introduce me to, he became my godfather in the industry. I'm so blessed. And he introduced me to this woman, and she says to me, I hope you're ready to work with me, and I am a very demanding individual to work for. So have thick skin in order to be working with me. I hope you know that. I said, I'm always very flexible. I said, I hope you realize my talent and how committed I am to doing my very best on your behalf and everybody's behalf that I'm working with, especially with Oscar's collection. And there I started what I consider the beginning of my entire life, whereby I started working for so many designers, doing the editorial work inside, and then eventually the covers for Vogue, the covers for all these other major magazines. In years to come, I built this career that got me to become known in the industry as somebody that had special talent and in demand by so many designers. Oscar de la Renta, Yves Saint Laurent, Galliano, one of my favorites. Ralph Lauren. I can go on with all these great geniuses that I was able to work with and meet and become friends with. And in doing so, working with these great magazines, getting my name out there, then Hollywood calls me. And all of a sudden, I am being flown to Los Angeles to start working in many, many movies. One of my very first movies was with Faye Dunaway. Then I met Diana Ross in the early 70s, and she asked me to work in two of her movies, which was The Wiz with Michael Jackson and Mahogany. And later on, after many other films, my last one before retiring, and to this day I said, wow, what a way to walk away. And that was Titanic. And at that point, where do you go from there? I love you too. So I said, Peter Lamas, where do you go from there? But with everything that's great and wonderful, sometimes tragedy also happens. And the person that meant so much in my life, because when I was leaving Cuba with my mom and dad, as I got on that plane, and I recall last night I got teary-eyed because I didn't want to leave. And the only reason they left was because they wanted to have, I should have a future. And there was no future in Cuba at that time with that government that took over this wonderful country of mine. And they didn't have to leave. They could have stayed there. But they gave up everything for me, and I will never forget that. As a parent today, I learned so much from that. Sitting on the plane, looking out the window, I'm literally crying my heart out. And my mother, I saw this hand coming who was sitting next to me, my mother, and she pushes me away from the window and says, "Don't look back, the future's ahead of you." That's a woman with a lot of strength of character. And she was so, so right.